Howdy, y'all. Random lady here. And I know, it's not Monday. I don't always just put videos out on Monday. Sorry, I'm not being consistent. But I want to talk to you about some changes that I'm going to be putting on my video. Maybe not really changes. My video is always going to be kind of a mixed bag of stories, vlogs, things like that. But I am starting a series called Story of My Life. And I'm years old, and I've had a lot of interesting stories. And so my daughter, she said, "Mom, you have all these interesting stories. You should share them." So I'm going to share them with you. And I hope that you like them. Oh, by the way, Slime Master Lizzie, I want to thank you for my squishy. I hope that I don't have to go to the grocery store and pretend like this is real bread. But I don't know if the girls are going to hold me up to it now. And if you're wondering what I'm talking about, I want you to see my video, Squishy Slime and Poop, and I'll put a link to it in the description below. But anyway, it wouldn't be good for me to talk about, telling you how I'm going to start a series of Story of My Life without giving you a funny story. So I'm going to talk to you about a story of when I fell down and hurt myself. Okay, this sounds like no big deal. We've all fallen down and hurt ourselves. But this will let you know a kind of example of some of the stories in my life. There was this time, okay, I was an adult, I wasn't a little kid, and I had to go to the bathroom really bad, and I'm like, I wasn't driving. My husband was driving, and I'm like, come on. And we were so close to the house. And so when we get to the house, I jump out, and I had stuff in my arms, and I start running to the house really fast. And I'm like, I call the bathroom, but of course my family knew by then the way I was bouncing around in my car seat. But it did one of those things where I'm running, and my body was falling and going faster than my legs were. So I'm doing this leaning forward, and because I'm holding things, I don't think to reach out and try to catch myself when I fall. I'm still holding these things. And my head, boom, hit my front door and the concrete really, really hard. And I start screaming, oh my gosh, and it really hurt. And of course it would hit my bald spot here and scrape off more hair, and hey, yay, more bald spot. But anyway, my husband and my family are like, oh my gosh, are you okay? My husband helps me to my feet. And somehow by that moment, as I'm screaming in pain and there's this big scrape and blood, and I forgot I had to go to the bathroom, but whatever. And then I'm like, I start calming down as my husband's like, patting the blood, and he's kind of okay. The scrapes are not so bad. And I'm like, cool, fine. Go to the restroom, change clothes. And in that time, this big welt started swelling up right in here. And I come out of the bedroom after changing clothes, and my whole family, their eyes are all bugged up, and they're like, whoa. And I'm like, what? And they said, you should see this lump swelling up on your head. And I'm like, oh. And I look in the mirror, and I press on it, and I can't feel anything. It's so thick. And then all of a sudden, I started talking gibberish, just not making sense, as it started welling up this way. And I had this huge cross-shaped lump on my head right here. And I'm like, and my husband knew then, call an ambulance. So by then I'm like, I'm gonna lay down. So at least something made sense. I go into the bedroom and I lay down. And the ambulance shows up, and the guys start coming in the house, and he's like, she's in here on the bed. And the way my house was is that it was a narrow entryway into the house, and then there was a turn where the sofa and the rest of the house was, and then you had to walk the hallway all the way back to my bedroom. And here these guys come, and they realize they can't get the gurney in the house, it won't fit. So they're come with this fold-up carrying gurney, And they come and they find me and they say, "Hey, Susan, how you doing? Can you tell me what day it is?" Monday. It was Sunday. And they're like, "Oh, wow. Okay, we're going to take you to the hospital, okay? You just lay still, and we'll do the rest." And I'm thinking, okay. So, I'm a big woman, as you can see. And I haven't always been this big, but I've always been big. And so, they're like, "Okay, we're going to have to roll her." And so they do. And a couple of guys, they roll up onto the bed and they're on their knees on the bed while the other two guys stand on the side of the bed because it was a king-size bed. And so they're like, "Okay, roll her sideways." And they roll me on my side and all I see is this guy's crotch in my face as they're stuffing this fold-up gurney under me. It's like this real thick cloth. And then they're like, "Okay, roll her the other way." And they roll me the other way where the guys are standing by the bed, and all I see is the crotch of this guy in my face. And I'm like, what kind of dream am I having? What is this? And then they roll me back on my back, and all of a sudden they lift me up. Whoa! And now they're carrying me, and I'm like seeing the roof of my house and bouncing all the way up the hallway. And then I'm sharp turn, and I'm sharp turn into the entryway, and then I'm going out the door. And this is a really view of my house, seeing the roof of my hallway, and then all of a sudden sky. And then they get me into the ambulance. They zoom me away. And by then it had gotten dark outside. And it was really cold outside, so the guys are wearing gloves and everything. And I don't feel anything. I don't feel the temperature. I'm out of it, but I don't pass out. And the guy, he gets one of these cold packs. And he's like, "Whoa, that is a huge lump on your head. Let me get a cold pack on that." And he's cracking it up and everything and shaking it up. And he's like, "Ooh, this is so cold. I can feel it through my gloves." And then he lays it on the lump on my head. And he goes, "You feel that?" I'm like, "No." He starts laughing. He goes, "I imagine not with that kind of lump on your head." So they get me into the hospital, and all I see are these lights passing by as I'm laying on this gurney, flat on my back. And they get me in the room, and the nurse is talking to me and everything, and they get me into a scanning machine and everything, and they find out, thankfully, there are no cracks in my skull. So that's an awesome thing, but I'm going to have one heck of a concussion and a couple of really big black eyes. And so we get me back home after hours of this whole going-ons, and the swelling was just this big lump. And by the next morning, the black eyes were starting to show. And what it was the blood from this lump started running down into my eyes. And my husband said, "When you go back to work, you know what people are going to think. They're going to think I beat you." I said, "I know, and the only thing I can do is just keep insisting that you didn't. But I know that sounds like what every woman who goes through abuse does. Oh, no, I fell." Which really is what happened. And so I go back to work with 2 black eyes, and I can't remember how to do my job. So I really hit myself pretty hard. And then I start crying for no reason. I'm freaking out at work. So I go out into a quiet hallway of work, and I call the nurse because she said, "If you get really bad, call me." And I call, and this different nurse picks up from the one I talked to at the hospital. And I told her what's going on with me, and she said, "Oh, well, yeah, you have a concussion. Those things are going to happen. You're going to forget how to do things. You're going to have sudden bursts of crying. It's just, your head took a really bad hit. So you're going to be okay, but if you really feel bad, like you can't breathe or anything, or if you pass out, then call me." What? So you're saying if I pass out, that's when I need to call you? And she said, yes, exactly. Okay, thank you. And I closed, the phone. This is back when it was flip phones. And it's like, okay. And because I had this terrible concussion, I'm thinking, did I hear her right? That when I pass out, that's when I call her? Alrighty. So, yeah, that is a story of what happened to me. And I actually had pictures. I don't know how well that you could see them. One more funny story that's not mine. It's my husband's. Years ago, he was riding in, I think it was a Trans Am with a T-top. And what a T-top is that these two pieces come out. And you could actually stand up in the car, which is exactly what he was doing. And so his friend's driving, woo, and he's all standing up, woohoo, yeah. And the friend takes a sharp turn. And my husband falls out of the car, and the driver doesn't know it. He just keeps driving and everything, and then he goes, "This is really awesome, isn't it, Scott? Scott? Scott?" He had no idea Scott fell out of the car. So it's silly stories like that are going to be in this series. And then I'm going to ask you, like I'm asking you now, do you have any funny stories you want to tell me? Stories of when you hurt yourself, but it was a really funny situation, or any kind of story. I want to hear about it. Please type your story in the comments below, and I promise I will read them, and I will just love it. I will, because I love to hear other people's stories. So, if you made it with me this far, I want you to do me a favor. Let me know what's going on by hitting the like button. And then if you could hit subscribe if you're new to my channel. And if you hit the little bell next to subscribe, that will let you know what's going on by giving you notifications when I have a video coming out. I generally try to have videos come out on Mondays, but I'm not always consistent with that. I'll always have one come out on Monday, but sometimes I'll have some on other days too. I want to thank you so much. I appreciate you listening to my stories, and y'all have a great day, okay? Bye. I'm like, come on. Screaming, oh my gosh. Whoa. Like, I'm really down. Monday. What kind of dream am I having? What is this? What? Okay. Alrighty. Woohoo, yeah. Can't stop squeezing this. So cool. Oh man, that's cool.